The canvas is a stark, empty white, the perfect stage for a simple black figure. He's just there, a line in the void, utterly ordinary until a tremor runs through him, a feeling that something is about to awaken. This is where it all begins, the subtle, undeniable itch of power. We open with a close-up on his hand, trembling slightly, fingers twitching, a nervous energy bubbling just beneath the surface of his monochromatic skin. He has no idea what he's doing, only that the air around him feels strangely heavy, almost expectant, waiting for a command he doesn't know how to give. It's an awkward, almost pitiful start, but every great legend has to start somewhere, fumbling in the dark before finding the light, or in this case, the searing heat. Level 1 arrives with a whimper, not a bang. He manages to summon a tiny, sputtering flame, no bigger than a match head, which immediately vanishes the moment he loses concentration. The flame is smoky, weak, and provides absolutely no heat, merely a faint orange glow that looks more like a mistake than a superpower. He stares at it in disappointment, perhaps even a bit of embarrassment, realizing that controlling this volatile element is going to be significantly harder than he thought. It's a moment of pure low-stakes comedy, the birth of a superhero that feels less heroic and more like a failed magic trick, but it establishes the fundamental rule. Effort and focus are the true fuel for this power. By level 5, the frustration is palpable. He can keep a small campfire alive, maybe, but any sudden movement extinguishes it instantly. He's sweating, covered in soot, trying desperately to use this elementary heat to boil a simple cup of water, an impossible task for his current skill level. The flames jump and recoil from his touch, refusing to obey, acting like a rebellious pet rather than an extension of his will. This stage is crucial, the grinding period where the audience sees the sheer work required. It's not just about cool effects, it's about the deep, soul-crushing effort needed to master an elemental force that inherently resists being contained. Level 10 marks a turning point. He finally achieves some degree of consistency. He can now generate a steady knee-high blaze, controlled enough to act as a defensive shield, a small barrier against imaginary threats. The fire is brighter now, a solid yellow-orange, responding to his emotional state, flickering when he's scared, growing bolder when he feels confident. It's the first taste of true power, the realization that this energy is not just in his hands, but is part of him. We see him practicing simple shapes, attempting to sculpt the flames into a rudimentary stickman replica, a playful, yet focused exercise in elemental artistry and control. At level 15, the ability transitions from defense to offense, though still clumsy. He can now project small fireballs, projectiles the size of an apple, that fly with surprising speed but little accuracy. They mostly hit things near his target, leaving scorch marks on the ground or grazing the corner of a training dummy. It's a period of reckless experimentation, where the energy is exciting but still wild and untamed, often burning himself slightly in the process. This phase is characterized by rapid-fire failures and the exhilaration of occasionally hitting the mark, reinforcing the dynamic link between precision and power. Reaching level 20, he gains the ability of Fire Dash. He can briefly envelop his body in a controlled burst of heat, allowing him to launch himself forward at high speed, a blur of red and black across the screen. This is his first experience with moving the element with him, transforming it from a static tool into a dynamic vehicle. The effect is spectacular, a fiery jet trail following his simple form, but the landing is invariably awkward, usually resulting in a comical tumble or a smoky crash into a pile of something soft. It's a necessary step in mobility, even if the execution is still far from graceful. Level 30 introduces fire whips, long, lashing tendrils of superheated air and flame that can grapple objects or strike distant targets with surprising force. The fire is no longer merely destructive. It is a tool of extension and manipulation. He uses these whips to practice precision, retrieving tiny objects from a distance without burning them to ash, demonstrating a newfound finesse. The visual is striking, his black form surrounded by these constantly dancing, crackling red lines, making him look less like a stickman and more like a minimalist elemental god, slowly waking up to his potential. The transformation at level 40 is profound. His power becomes visually internalized. His eyes, previously blank white, now glow with an inner furious red, and faint trails of smoke perpetually curl off his arms. He no longer needs to consciously summon the flames. They are always there, an aura of shimmering heat that warps the background. He uses this level to experiment with fire cloaking, creating illusions of mass and form, momentarily appearing as a towering, monstrous silhouette before snapping back to his basic stickman form, realizing the psychological warfare potential of his power. Level 50 is the midpoint, marked by mastery over a secondary fire form, blue fire. This flame is hotter, cleaner, and far more energy efficient. He can now conjure complex, sustained structures, walls, cages, and platforms from the air, manipulating the environment around him with architecturally sound designs made of pure thermal energy. The switch from chaotic orange to precise, controlled blue signifies a shift in his mindset, moving from brute force to intelligent application, demonstrating the true difference between simply making fire and commanding it. At level 60, the scale explodes. His power is now capable of mass destruction, though he uses it responsibly. He performs his first mass incineration, vaporizing large, complex structures, safely provided training constructs, in a single focused blast of white-hot heat that leaves behind only shimmering dust. The sheer energy release is immense, requiring intense focus and a roar of exertion, leaving him momentarily drained but satisfied. This is the stage where he realizes the destructive potential requires a matching discipline and moral compass, as a moment of anger could wipe out mountains. Level 70 is about elemental fusion and interaction. He learns to use his pyrokinesis to draw latent heat from the environment, making surrounding objects instantly freeze as he fuels his own blaze. This creates an incredible visual contrast. The center of the screen is an inferno, while the edges are covered in instant frost, a mastery of thermodynamic opposites. This level is crucial for understanding energy conservation and the fundamental rule that power cannot be created, only converted, turning his animation into a dynamic display of scientific principles twisted for spectacular effect. The arrival of level 80 brings solar flare, an ability that doesn't just create fire, but mimics the raw, unadulterated energy of a star. He can project a blindingly bright burst of light and heat that temporarily incapacitates enemies and leaves behind a persistent, radiant afterglow. The animation shifts entirely. The white background is blown out by the intensity of the light, reducing everything to silhouettes. It's a statement of ultimate self-generated power, placing him leagues beyond his former self and signaling a transition into near-mythical capabilities. At level 90, he achieves living fire. He can now animate his flames, shaping them into sentient, short-lived constructs. Miniature fire elementals, dragons, or guardian stickmen made entirely of dancing plasma. These constructs can act independently of him for a short time, defending him or attacking in complex formations. This opens the door to strategic combat, utilizing an army of thermal avatars, turning the fight from a one-on-one duel into a spectacular, chaotic thermal ballet. The sheer complexity of animating multiple entities simultaneously speaks to his incredible processing speed and control. Level 95 is subtle but terrifying. Absolute zeroing. He realizes that controlling fire is also controlling the absence of fire. By hyper-accelerating the heat in one direction, he can create a vacuum of cold, instantly freezing and shattering anything around his target. The blue fire now carries streaks of ethereal white, the ultimate expression of control over the thermal spectrum. This power is silent, instant, and far more dangerous than a simple explosion, adding a layer of sophisticated, calculated threat to his arsenal. The penultimate stage, level 99, is cosmic ignition. He can now draw power not just from the environment, but from the background itself, tearing a rift in the white canvas to reveal a swirling vortex of stellar energy and raw creation. The fire he generates is no longer mere plasma. It is starlight, pure energy, giving off a rainbow spectrum of heat and light. He stands at the threshold of divinity, his simple black form barely containing the magnitude of the cosmic furnace he wields, a testament to the ultimate scaling of his stickman powers. Finally, level 100. The incarnation of the Inferno. He ceases to be a stickman wielding fire, and becomes the fire. His form is momentarily replaced by a giant, incandescent silhouette that radiates all colors of the thermal spectrum, a towering, benevolent entity of perfect control and infinite power. The entire screen is bathed in a perfect white light, followed by the sight of him effortlessly creating entire star systems with a flick of his wrist. He doesn't fight. He simply is. The journey is complete, the mastery absolute, and the power infinite, proving that even the simplest line can hold the most incredible potential. The camera pulls back slowly, showing the black stickman figure once again, now standing quietly in the center of the vast white space, the intense red glow in his eyes having faded, replaced by a soft, warm flicker. He smiles, a simple line that expresses profound understanding. The universe is his to command, yet he chooses stillness, the calm after the storm. The animation cuts to a final, lasting image of his hand, now not trembling with fear or effort, but resting with perfect, relaxed confidence, a tiny, steady blue flame hovering patiently above his palm, waiting for his next command. The outro music swells, showing a montage of the best action shots from the journey. The clumsy level 1 flame juxtaposed with the glorious level 100 star creation. The message is clear. True power isn't about the size of the explosion, but the depth of the control and the journey of self-mastery.